What's up, everyone? I am here to do another review of a book that I just finished, and the name of the book is called Tangled Hearts by Evelyn Latrice. I am going to do a quick synopsis of the book, no spoilers, and then when I'm done, I am going to give a full review of the book and my thoughts. So if you're interested in hearing my review, please stay tuned. All right, so you guys, this book centers around 4 childhood friends. You have the main male character, his name is Hove, and the female main character, her name is Nicole. Now, they grew up together and they all had, Nicole, Hove, and another character who I'll talk about later. They had, some troubled or difficult upbringings. Hove was raised by his mom, and she wasn't really around. And Nicole was raised by her dad, and he was on drugs all of her life. So Rock, he was really close to Hove. They were like brothers. So Rock is another key character in this book. His upbringings weren't great either, but Rock was raised by his grandmother. His mother was a type of young lady that she put her men before Rock and his sister. So his grandmother raised them. Then you had Noor and Nicole. They are very close. Now, Noor, unlike Rock, Nicole, and Hove, she didn't have such a bad upbringing. She had her mom in her life, and her mom was there for her, but they were all very close. Hove being, he was the one that kept the group together. He was very close to Rock, and he treated Nicole and Noor like his baby sisters. So Hove was more so like the protector, and I really, really, really loved Hove. So as they grew into adulthood, their relationships became very complicated and very tangled. And I found myself rooting for one couple of times and then mad at some situations, and then I was unsure about some other situations when it came to this book. So this book just follows their journey as they learn to grow up and to figure who they truly want. So let me tell you something. I love this book. So if you are interested in hearing about all the mess, because this book was super, super messy, stick around. So the book starts off with Hove and Nicole being 10 for Hove, and Nicole was 8. And it starts off with Hove coming to Nicole's house, and he tells her, "I didn't mean to push her." And then that's the prologue. And then the book starts. So the book starts when they're much older, because I remember Nicole was still in school. Nicole and Rock, they were in a relationship. So when Hove and Nicole grew up, Rock was not around Nicole. And I want to say she wasn't around Hove either. He wasn't around Hove either. I'm not sure. But when he came into the picture, he immediately was attracted to Nicole, and he never let up so much where he eventually wore her down, and then they became a couple. But at the same time, Hove had always liked Nicole, and even when the book starts, you would get little snippets of him looking at her, on the low, and she would notice it and she would look away, because she was with Rock, and him And Hove and Rock, they were like this. They were like brothers. So, yeah, they were young. Okay, so Rock, he would mess around on Nicole. He was a habitual cheater. He was a habitual cheater, and she would always catch him or always find out that he was messing around with her. Now, there was one particular girl that he always messed around with, and Nicole and her would get into it. Like, I think when the book started, she was outside with Nora, her girl, and she sees him in the car, and he's getting fellatio, and I don't know what happened, if he pulled up. I don't know what happened. Whatever happened, when she got up with him, her and Shakisha got into it, and Shakisha's like, you don't let her beat me up, da, 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 da. And so whenever Shakisha and Nicole saw each other, it was on sight. Shakisha was one of those girls in the neighborhood where she wasn't respected by men. And Rock actually really liked Shakisha. However, because Nicole had a different type of vibe to her, whereas he felt like it was a good look to be with Nicole. However, he liked Shakisha, but she wasn't a good look. So you really didn't get to know how much he really cared for Shakisha until you get further into the book. He was Nicole's boyfriend, but you knew he used to mess around with her, but you didn't really know how much he cared for Shakisha. So he really liked Shakisha because he felt like Shakisha was there for him when he didn't have nothing, but Nicole was a good look. And for some reason, it also says in the book that he could never let Shakisha loose. And I felt so bad for the young lady because whenever Nicole would call in the presence of Shakisha, he would always take her call. So it was just like he loved her behind closed doors, and he gave Nicole all the respect. But so there was one day where Nicole needed some personals, and her father was strung out on drugs. And so she went to where he is when he does his drugs, somewhere in the street, and she asked him for some money. I think she knew that he had got paid, that day or something. He got his check or something. And he told her he didn't have any money. So she was upset because, a young lady, we need our personals. So she goes back to the house, and she goes back to the house and she finds money in his room. She goes to the store and she gets her personals. So when he comes home, he's looking for his money. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, did you steal my money? Did you steal my money? And she was like, no, I don't know if she denied it or whatever, but he figured that she stole his money. And you know how it is when people are on drugs. He winds up kicking her outside. They having a full-blown dispute outside. And, she's yelling at him and he's yelling at her. And then the whole block is noticing. And I want to say she had a robe on, but it was kind of inappropriate because he kicked her out the house. And Hove was around, and he was like, what's going on? Seeing all these people, gathered in their yard. And he tells Nicole, get in the car. And she was like, no, leave me, he da-da-da-da. He was like, get in the car. So he tells the father, the father's name is Nick. He tells the father, you need to get off them drugs. You bogus for that. You got all these people out here in your business. So he takes her to the store and he asks her what she needs, and she tells him that she needs her personals. So he goes to the store, he goes in the store, and he gets the personals for her. Now at this time, him and Rock, they live together because they sell drugs. They sell drugs. So I think they're probably sell small time drug dealers or whatever, but they live together. So he was just like, look, Rock is not here right now. I'm about to take you to the house and you're gonna spend a night. Just come on. So she goes back to the house with him. Okay, so then you have Nora. Now Nora, Nora is very outgoing or whatever, and she's all about her money. They're young, but she all about her money. She only, how when you're young, you like the little boys in the neighborhood because, they got the little money, whatever. So that's how Nora was. So they had another childhood friend. His name was Cash, but he wasn't as close with them. He wasn't in their group. But Cash, you know, Hov was cool with him, Rock was cool. They was all cool with him. But Cash had a liking for Nora. And he would always call her pretty girl. And he was like a, you know, an up and coming rapper. He was in the neighborhood like he was a rapper. That was what he aspired to be. And he would always mess with Nora. And she'd be like, boy, leave me alone or whatever. And he was like, yeah. He was like, you ain't liking me now. He was like, when I make that money, you're going to be wishing, you know, you got up with me or whatever. So they always had that little cute little banter going on. So Nick was on drugs bad. And so he knew that Hov and Rock, they sold drugs. So one day he came over to where they were, maybe the trap house or whatever, and he was asking for some drugs. And they was like, no, we didn't give you no drugs because Nicole is their friend. They was like, no, Nick, we ain't giving you no drugs. So Hov was like, don't nobody sell him no drugs. You know what I'm saying? If he comes over here, don't nobody sell him no drugs. I think Nick asked Rock to give him some drugs. And he was like, man, go on here, get on, go here. I'm not selling you no drugs, whatever. So Nick got upset. Rock and Hov refused to sell Nick drugs. This made him mad. So what he did was he went to, I want to say the police or whatever, or somebody. He went to somebody. And I guess maybe they were going to offer him some drugs too, whatever. So he was pissed. They went to Rock and Hov's house under the guise of saying, you got this girl living with you and she needs to be home with her father. And I don't know if they tried to I don't know if they tried to buy drugs from Rock because Hov wasn't there. But whatever happened, they arrested Rock. And Nick was there too. So Rock knew that Nick was the one who got him arrested. So he goes to jail. So there was this party and Nora wanted to go to this party. And she was like, come on, girl, talking about Nicole. Come on, girl, let's go to this party or whatever. So they go to the party, okay? So when they're at the party, Hov is there, unbeknownst to them. And you know, they doing a cute little dance. You know, back in the day, you do a little dancing and stuff like that. And it's so funny because Hov, he was such a protector. So, Nicole was on the floor, baby. She doing her little, what's that party song by, Sierra? So she doing, it's your party. So she doing a little dance and stuff. So this dude comes up, he about to pull out the money, about to, you know, make it rain. And Hov's like, I wish you would disrespect her like that. But Hov was that dude in the neighborhood where people respected them. So Hov was posted up with this dude named Christian. Now Christian is the street dude. Christian is the big time dope dealer in the neighborhood. He's a little older than Hov. So he goes to Hov because his boy is in jail and he like, I gotta take care of my boy grandmother. Now that he's in jail, I gotta take care of his sister. Now that she's in jail, I gotta take care of Nicole and Nora, because that's how Hov was. Hov was that dude. Okay? So he goes to Christian and, you know, he like, I wanna, you know, put me on. And Christian's like, you know, I've been seeing you in the neighborhood or whatever. Okay, you know, I'll put you on. So while they're there, Nora's there. And she's looking at Christian like, you know, looking at Nicole like, girl, you know, she was like, girl, she's like, I want that or whatever. And he's looking at her too. They wind up linking up. And so, Nora would use Nicole, you know how you, back in the day when we was younger, you like, girl, say I'm at your house. So, and tell Nicole to be her excuse for hanging out with Christian, because her mama, you know, she didn't want her hanging out with this dude or whatever. I don't know why. You know how mamas just don't want you hanging out with, you know, street dudes or whatever. And so she goes over to their house, okay? Now, she's not knowing that Hov done started, you know, he's starting to do the cooking of the, you know, the drugs and stuff, and he puts Nicole on too. So when she goes in the house and they cooking up stuff like that in the trap house, and she's like, whoa, what's going on here? And Nicole's like, look, you don't know how it is to be raised by somebody who, you know, was on drugs. I need this money. You know what I'm saying? And she was trying to explain it in a way because it was kind of a contradiction, because she loved her father and her father was on drugs and she hated her father being on drugs and she wanted, nothing but to have a father who wasn't on drugs, but at the same time, she about to be a drug dealer. So she was like, so Noah was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna let y'all do y'all. So I don't know if Hov was about to leave and something happened, and Noah's looking like, what's up with that? Like, she peeping game like, y'all, whatever. She's like, girl. So Nicole's like, girl, no. Nicole was like, the same night, Noah was like, look, I'm about to go out with Christian. Lord, I know my memory ain't that great, but I know she was going out with Christian, and she was just like, kind of get her to go on a double date with her. And Nicole, her father's in jail. Brock, her man, is in jail. No, Brock, her man, is in jail. Her father's on drugs. She like, okay, fine. I need to clear my mind. Goes on a double date with her, and unbeknownst to them, Hov is the guy that's there on a double date. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so glad it was you. She was like, because I really didn't want to be bothered with anybody else. And he was like, I kind of figured that, or whatever, whatever. So they're having their little double date or whatever, and they having a good time, whatever. So y'all, they go home. He takes her home, and he's sitting on the couch, and the next thing you know, they start kissing. And, they're trying not to cross the line, because although he always liked her, Brock is his boy, and Brock is in jail. You know what I'm saying? And they go back to the bedroom, but they don't do anything. They go back to the bedroom, okay? So, but the book tells us that all this time, he had broke her virginity. He was her first. I don't know if she was his first, but he was her first, but nobody else knew. That was a secret that they kept to themselves, okay? So, Brock is in jail, okay? Brock is in jail, and, she's like, oh, I need to talk to him, So, Hov has, Nicole, they're in the car driving or whatever, and I think he calls him or whatever. I don't know who calls who. He in jail. I don't know, but it's fiction, so who knows who called. He might have called him, but anyway. So she was like, let me talk to him. So, she talks to him, whatever, and he's like, look, I done left you. I think he left her like $5,000 or something. He's like, I left you some money, whatever. Finish school. Do what you got to do. I don't want you coming up here to see me, you know what I'm saying? Because they gave him 5 years. He was like, I don't want you coming up here and see me. I want you to finish school. So she's like, upset, like, no. So she said, let me speak back. He's like, let me speak back to Hov. So Hov gets on the call, and he was like, don't bring her up here. Do not bring her up here. I want to do my time. I need you to take care of her, make sure she's good, make sure my family good. He was like, dude, I got you, or whatever. So she's like all upset, like, I can't do without him, and da-da-da-da-da. Okay? She's pregnant. And he allows her to come up to the jail, girl. And she was like, you know what? I just, you in jail, I terminate the baby. And he was like, don't terminate the baby or whatever. She was like, why would I not terminate the baby? You in jail. When you were out, you would parade Nicole around, and I was your secret. And he was like, I'm sorry. He was like, but, I can't let you go. He was just like, please don't terminate the baby. And she's just like, the hood has always talked about me, and me having your baby. He was like, look, don't worry about what the hood got going on. He was just like, prove them wrong. So that was that. So she's in the street one day, and Hov sees her. Now Hov knows the relationship that Sharkeisha and Rock has, but he's never told Nicole, because you know how, I that's their business, you know what I'm saying, whatever, whatever. So she tells him that she's pregnant, and he was like, oh man, or whatever. So he's like, look, here's my number. Call me if you need me when a baby get here, whatever. I got you. And she's very like emotional, because she really likes Rock. And he was just like, look, she was like, I really like him. He was like, you know what? I got you. Don't worry about that. Like I said, if you need me, whatever. Because she was really a nice girl. But you know how sometimes people that you grew up, well, where I grew up at, you might have some people that they were just more so the product of their environment. They nice people, whatever. They just didn't have the best upbringing. That has no bearing on who they are as a person. And that's how it was with Sharkeisha. It was kind of like, I didn't like her because I like Nicole. But at the same time, the book portrayed her to be really a nice person, So she probably was looked down on, you know, whatever. But I still was kind of rooting for her because she really, really liked Rock. And I kind of felt bad for her. So it's Nicole's birthday. So they're out at a party or whatever. And at this time, Christian and Nora, they hot and heavy. They've been kicking it for a long time. They've been, you know, kicking it for a long time. Cash, he's moving up in the rap game, you know what I'm saying? And in the hood, they know him. You don't have people from your neighborhood, they love anybody that makes it out. So he on the stage, baby, he rapping. The people at the party, they rapping along with him, like, you know what I'm saying? They loving him, whatever. Same time, Nora and Christian, they get into it because they always into it. So they getting into it, and so Cash is on the stage rapping, and he was like, I want the baddest bee in this club to come up. And he was talking about Nora. And she's like whispering, like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, you know, this is my dude, and you up here, you know, doing that or whatever. So Christian gets mad, and he's out the butt. And so Hope's like, no, you ain't, but you not about to do. That's my little, you know, up there. You squash that. You mad at her, not him. Calm that down. And so Christian, he was mad, but he respected Hope, so he let it be. As the night progresses, Nicole dancing, and Hope comes behind her. He dancing with her, whatever. And then he whispers in her ear, and he's like, let me know when you're ready to leave. Girl. Baby, I was just like, I'm all for it. And so she was like, all right, whatever. And so they leave, and they go back to her house, and they wind up getting busy, baby. They getting busy or whatever. So after that, the book fast forwards 5 years later. So Nicole and Hove, they have a baby together. Nick has gotten off drugs because Hove threatened him, like, you need to, you know, whatever. And he did it because when his grandson was born, he wanted to be there for his grandson. And like I said, Hove kind of threatened him too. But at this time right now, baby, Hove and Nicole, they're kingpins in the street, baby. She the queen, he the king. And they're not together anymore. They hadn't been together for like 6 months. And even though they weren't together, Hove always was like whispering stuff to her, like, you know, I'll do anything for you, right? And he was like hard in the street, but like, you know, soft on her. And I was wondering, like, oh my God, like, wait till I tell y'all why they broke up. Girl, I was pissed. So now, Christian and Nora, they've been together for the longest. Christian was messing around with this chick named Shanta. Shanta goes on social media and she posts that they have a baby together. So quite naturally, Nora is pissed. So I get it, you know, but when you have a baby, that's a whole nother beast. That's a whole nother beast. Okay, so of course she's pissed. You know, she loved Christian, baby. She loved her some Christian. And he was like, yeah, you know how dudes do. They try to turn it around and flip it on you. So I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? That happened when me and you know, we was having our problems. But every time me and you get into it, you run your butt over to Cash. And she's like, hold on, I know you ain't finna try to turn this on me. You got a whole baby out here. And so he was like, you know, let me know what I gotta do. I'll kill her for you. And she's like, dude, you stupid dude, sound like you talking about you gonna kill a doggone woman. So she's pissed. So they have been living together. I think they had built this mansion and stuff, whatever. Because Christian, like I said, he was a street dude, so he had that money too. So she goes to her mother, and her mother tells her, like most mothers do. Like my mom would tell me, like, look, he's young. Like, you know, he's young. I know he loves you, but that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? That's, you know, it's unfortunate. I'm not saying she condoning it or whatever. Just letting her know that, you know what I'm saying, you're young. And so, you know, she's devastated because she loves her, so she's devastated. So what she do? Okay, what she do? You know, get that rebound, girl. She calls Cash. Now, Cash at the time, he a big dude. He a big time rapper. He got that money or whatever. So she texts Cash, and you know, all Cash got to say is like, "What's up, pretty girl?" Because that's all he always says, like, "What's up, pretty girl?" She's like, you know, so whenever she got mad at Christian, she can talk to Cash, and Cash, he liked her so much, he'll listen to her, you know, let her vent or whatever, because he liked her, whatever. So he went and sent a car for her. Girl, so she goes, you know, once again, she went off for Cash, right? And girl, they wind up having SCX. Because I don't know if they said that they was having sexual relations when in between when her and Christian were getting into it, but I know they had it then, whatever. So yeah, so she ran off with cash. So now Rock is about to get out of jail. He is getting out of jail. This really pissed me off. It really, really pissed me off because she broke up with Hove because she felt guilty because the reason why Rock was in jail was because of her daddy. So she broke up with Hove, and in addition, she kind of felt, the book says she kind of felt like she was scared of giving her all to Hove because she honestly really deeply cared for Hove, but you know, she was scared. And so Hove goes to pick up Rock from jail. So he goes to pick him up from jail. He was like, oh, you know, what's up, Mom? You know, because they like this. They brothers, okay? And so he picks him up. He was like, what? So he has a ride for him and everything. He was like, throws him the keys like, this all you? He was like, what? You know, whatever. And so Rock was about to tell him about him and Nicole because he didn't know about him and Nicole. But he was like, dude, I got something to tell you. And Rock was like, look, if it ain't no good news, man, I just want to enjoy, you know, me being out. You know, I don't want to hear all that. So he was like, all right, you know, so he let it be. Okay, so they going out because, you know, this is first night out, so they going to the club and stuff. And baby, here come the queen, baby. She come walking in, you know what I'm saying? You know, everybody know her. She come walking in, and Rock is like, what? And they get the hugging or whatever. And so they wind up leaving together. Now, I got a little confused because if I'm not mistaken, Hove was there, but maybe he wasn't. But anyway, so they wind up leaving, right? Y'all, this part, girl. So they at her house, right? So, cause her and Hove, they don't live together. She got her own place when she moved out. Her and Rock was getting it on all night, right? Hove and their son comes to the house. The son busts in on her in her room. Why is Hove butt naked with his peen out? And the young boy says to Hove, why is Uncle Rock in the bed with my mama? I just don't know what was going through Hove's head. Like, can you imagine you love this girl? It's one thing to, you know, think and know that they are messing around, but to actually see their body parts, I was just like, wow. So Rock gets up like, what? Like, cause all this time he knew that he came to know the little boy and he came to like, well, maybe, you know what? Girl, I don't know if he thought that was Rock's baby, Hove's baby, or Nicole's baby. I don't know, but he thought the baby was one of their babies, but he didn't know that they had a baby together. So of course he's living like, what the, you know what I'm saying? So him and Hove get the boxing, baby. They boxing. And so Nicole is trying to break it up. And so I don't know, she must have said something to Hove, and he got a feeling like, what? Like, you know. So she was like, let me talk to him. He was like, I'm up. So he takes the baby and he leaves. Of course, Rock is pissed. So he goes to his granny because, you know, the granny should know because the granny is cool with Hove. She knows all of them. And if I'm not mistaken, when Rock was in jail, Hove got that house, you know, he took care of, I know he took care of them, but you know what I'm saying? So she knew who the baby was. And he was pissed at the grandmama. But the grandmama was kind of saying, people be killing me like, that's none of my business. But certain things, you know, you know, you got to know where your loyalty lies. Like, that's my grandson. Like, I just, but anyway, it's fictional. Like I always say, it's fictional. So he was mad behind the fact that, you know, that the baby was Nicole's and Hove's. Yeah, Nicole, she used to piss me off because, like, when she would be around Hove and when Brock would call, you know, she would answer. She was just getting on my nerves, whatever. And so, so after this, girl, why Rock been out all this time and he got a baby and he running up behind Nicole and he need to go see his baby. So I don't know, him and Nicole must have talked it out or whatever, and he was like, look, I'm gonna take you on a date. And she was like, okay, cool, whatever. So he goes over to Sharkeisha's house and he was like, why you ain't tell me that Hove and Nicole had a baby? And she was just like, and I don't blame a girl, she was just like, I'm not gonna be pillow talking to you about this other B. Like, first, girl, like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? He got the audacity. And then she was pissed. She was just like, you've been out this whole time, you go see Nicole, but you won't even come see your baby. And they wind up having, you know, SCX or whatever. And I want to say, I don't know if Nicole called him or somebody called about Nicole in front of Sharkeisha, and he took the call. He just was being disrespectful. And Sharkeisha used to take stuff under the chin, but Sharkeisha was getting herself together, baby. She was like, I was been in school or whatever. She started loving on herself, you know what I'm saying? I love that for her. So he was like, okay, so he goes out to get Nicole because they about to go on this date or whatever, because, you know, she wanted him to date him. You know, she ain't seen him in 5 years. Yo, that's why I say it. So he picks her up, right? And right off the bat, it's amazing how you can be very close to somebody, but when the years pass, you don't know that person. You know, you may be a totally different person when you were, you know, even 5 years ago than you are now. And that was the case with them. So they go out and he don't hold the door for her. And Hove is a gentleman. She ain't used to that. They go to the table. They about to order the food. Hove will order her food. He knew exactly what she wanted. He didn't know. He's on his phone the whole time. And in the back of her mind, she knows, girl, this ain't it. But she felt some type of guilt about her dad locking him up. And it was also a twinge of her feeling a certain way about letting her guard down for Hove, because she really did love him. But she had a funny way of showing it, girl. But anyway, yeah, I was like, wow, see? And so she was just so wishy-washy. I think she was at her dad's house one day and Hove came over and, you know, they about to get busy and stuff. Rock would call and he would answer. He was just like, you know, I'm up. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you know what? You need to let that dude know if you don't want to be with him, let him know you don't want to be with him. And she was, you know, kind of like saying, you know, it's hard, you know, trying to, you know, explain to him about, you know, the father and how he was. And he was just like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. You don't want to make the decision? I'll make a decision for you. And so that was that. Y'all, so back to Christian and Noor. So they having problems. Christian really feels bad. But baby, when you have an outside baby, that it's kind of like a wrap. You know what I'm saying? Some women, they'll do it, and that's fine. But a lot of women, you know, that's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? You make them forgive, you know, infidelity, but when you have a baby, Anyway, so he felt really remorseful. He really, really did. Only thing I didn't like is the fact that he felt so bad that he took it out on his child, meaning like he wasn't there as much for his child because he was so busy trying to, you know, get back with Noor. And so one day they at the house and she's communicating with Cash, you know, through text, and I don't know if she asked or he just did. He wound up sending a DICK picture. And unbeknownst to her, Christian was behind her. He was like, what the? So he takes the phone, he throws the phone, and she was like, see, ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. And so he's like, look, you know what I'm saying? Like, you being very disrespectful, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. She, you know, she's very emotional. She took that hard, like quite naturally. You've been with a man for that long. You've been with a man that long and he done cheated on you. I get it, and had a baby. She took it hard, baby. She was emotional every day. She crying about the situation. He's depressed because ain't nothing he could do. And so once again, she wants the cash, okay? She wants the cash. So I think maybe she called up Cash or whatever. And so she goes outside to her car one day and it's keyed up. Shanta crazy. She keyed up the car. And so she's like, look, you got this. See, it's one thing when you know what I'm saying, you know, messed around with somebody. You know, these women these days, they so disrespectful. So, she keyed up the car, and so she was like, look, you got this baby by her. She keying up my car. Like, you know, I can't even kind of like try to forgive you because this broad is crazy. So I think she texted him or whatever, and she was like, you gonna get my car fixed? And girl, he was just like, done. And I was like, yeah, I guess he's trying or whatever. So another event happened where they were on the block, and it was like a block party or something. You know, all the, you know, neighborhood people there, Hove's there, Nora's there, Nicole's there, and Rock is there. Now, mind you, Rock and Hove's relationship is like, Rock's still bitter. He's very bitter. You know what I'm saying? And so they're on the block. Nora is, you know, all up on Cash. Cash is out there. You know, she was trying to make Christian jealous. You know what I'm saying? And Christian was mad. He was very upset. Like, you know, like, what's up? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you with this dude or whatever. And Hov still trying to defuse the situation. Like, no, we're not finna, y'all not about to do this here. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? This is my boy. You my boy. Cause he in business with him. Like, you my boy. You my boy. You know, no, we're not about to do this. Yo, why Shanta walks upright and her and Nora get into it, and why Shanta pulls out a gun, and Hove's like, you know, so because Nora, that's his girl too, you know what I'm saying, that's family. He puts a gun to her head. I think, I don't know, but guns were raised, you know what I'm saying? Because Cash had his people out there because he a big time rapper. Christian had his people out there because he a big time drug dealer. Hov got his people out there, so they guns or whatever. And Hov's like, yeah, look, it is what it is. And so Christian is like pissed, like, what? So this really hurt Nora because she was like, see, this is what I'm saying. She keyed up my car. This girl come pull a gun out on me. I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So, still kicking it with Cash. Cash still playing the background. But Cash really likes her. But I like Cash. But, you know, it's like, dude, you know, like, I just would never want my son to be in a love triangle because people are crazy these days and it's dangerous. But he still allowed her to feel, you know, her feelings for Christian. She respected Cash when they were around. Christian, at this time, Christian is really, really depressed. He's like, man, like, I love this girl. Like, you know, he really loved her. He knew, he was very remorseful. Had he probably didn't have that baby by her, he really tried. She probably would have forgave him. But, yeah. So, he was really remorseful. So, he was like, you know what? He had bought her a car because what happened was when a girl had keyed up the car, he bought her a car. He knew she was out with Cash. I think he knew that she was with Cash maybe because she was posting stuff. And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to, you know, I want to make things right. So he goes to the mother house and he gives the mother the truck. And the mother's just like, this ain't going to make her, you know, want you anymore. Like, you messed up. Like, you don't know my daughter. You hurt her, and my daughter don't take too easily to being hurt. She gonna move on to the next one. And he's like asking her, like, you know, what it is that I can do. And she was basically like, you just gotta let her be. You know what I'm saying? And so at the same time, Nicole was going to therapy because she knew she was messed up. She knew that she loved Rock, but her heart belonged to Hov, and she knew she needed some therapy, you know, whatever. So she was going to therapy, and it was kind of helping her. And she brought her father in too, and she was really emotional, letting her father know, like, why didn't you choose me? Like, I loved you. And Nick was very emotional because he had been off drugs for a long time, but take it under the chin, take it here, because you know, your feelings are your feelings, but her feelings are her feelings too. And so she had got to the point where she was like, you know what? Yeah, I need to tell Rock. I need to talk to him. Like, because my heart is with Hov. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. So, at the same time, Rock was getting to know his little girl. The little girl loved him. Oh my gosh, she loved him, whatever. And he started to really appreciate Sharkeisha as being a good mother to her daughter. She was a very good mother to her daughter. And she was very mature. I think it was an instance with his mom coming around, and he wound up snapping on the mom, you know, because he loved his mother, but she always chose men over him and his sister. And Sharkeisha, it was so cute because they were at the dinner table when they came over, and he got so emotional. I think he threw something because he loved his mother. He wanted that love from his mother, but she didn't know how to give it. And so Sharkeisha and a little baby climbed at his lap. It was just the cutest thing. And he knew, yeah, I gotta make you my woman. I can't keep doing you the way that I'm doing you. So him and Nicole had the same idea as far as we love each other, but we are not each other's soulmate, you know. So they wound up talking it out. And she was like, I'm going to be with Ho or whatever. And he was like, yeah, he was just thinking, he was telling her like, it was foul how you played me and da-da-da-da-da. And baby, she was just like, don't think I don't know about that baby. And he was just like, she said, yeah, I know about that baby. You allowed that girl to come up there, but you wouldn't allow me to come up there. So I think it was more so of her guilt about her dad than loving him, because she knew he wasn't no good. Come on now. He had a whole baby on her. So they gained respect for each other as far as, regardless of anything, we still family. We're still family. We grew up, 4 of us tight, and we still gonna be family. And so, you know, he kind of told her he was gonna be with Sharkeisha. So y'all, Christian goes to Shanta's house because he's pissed. He's still pissed that she done pulled a gun on him. And, you know, he still loved Nora. And she done pulled a gun on him. He know, like, right now, Nora, like, I'm done. So he's just like, oh, my God. So she been having out. So he goes to the house. And he was just like, why would you do something like that or whatever? And she was just like, you know, snapping on him and da-da-da-da-da. And they get into it. He had a gun with him. The gun falls out of his pocket. She picks the gun up and she shoots him. And her brother comes in the house. He's like, what's going on? I guess he heard the commotion or whatever, that he was coming over. I guess with the brother coming in the house and her just doing that to Christian, it kind of shocked her. She winds up shooting the brother too. Y'all, she killed Christian and she killed her brother. That was so sad to me because I like Christian, and this book was so good where you didn't know what was going to happen, because I found myself liking Christian and I found myself liking Cash, and it's just like, ugh. And so she winds up killing him, and it was just so sad. And so Nora is with Cash out of town, and they are on their way home. And she's noticing that Cash is very quiet, but she don't know what's going on. They land, and Nicole is there, and Hove is there. And she's like, what's going on or whatever? And they look somber. And she's like, okay, what's going on? Y'all, when they told her that Christian died, that girl lost it. Because I knew she loved him. It was so sad, baby. She was on that floor. She did not believe it. She could not believe it. And oh my God, it was just sad. And then, so in the interim, Nicole goes to Hove, and she's like, look, I want to be with you. And she let him know that, you know, she was scared, you know what I'm saying, and that she loved him. And he was like, look, I can't go back and forth with you. You know what I'm saying? This back and forth. She was like, no, ain't no back and forth. I already told Rock, I want to be with you. And he's, girl, the things that he says to her when she was with Rock about, I still love you. You're the only one. I will always be for you. Girl, he loved that girl. He loved her down. So they wind up being together. So, of course, Nora's still very much emotional. She's at her mom's house. She can't seem to get it together. So Cash comes to be with her. And of course it hurts him, you know what I'm saying? Because he didn't want to come in she's at her house with the house that she shared with Christian. And he didn't want to go up in her, he didn't want to go up in the house where she shared with her man or whatever, but his woman she needed him. So he's like, I don't even want to go in that house. So she goes in the house and he's trying to be there for her. And she's like, you know, I apologize. I know I'm grieving over this man or whatever. And I know you care about me. He was like, I get it or whatever. And she starts to say, she's like, I love Christian. I loved him with all my heart. He did me wrong. She said, but you know what? I always loved you. You were always the one that I loved. I was just young and I was scared. And it shocked me because I was like, I knew that she liked him, but it sounded like she liked Christian more. But I think the book was trying to say that she was kind of scared to be with Cash, because Cash was the man. He was a rapper, but she always really liked him back in the day. And he was like, okay. So, yeah. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. And so, Rock used to always draw. He's always sketch. He had the sketchbook. When he went to prison, he did tattoos and he was ready to get out the street. He wanted to do something for his daughter. And so, Hove at the same time was buying property because he wanted to get out the drug game too. And so he bought this property, and Rock, unbeknownst to Rock, he goes to this property to see if he can, you know, lease it because he wanted to have his own tattoo shop. I thought it was so cute. And he goes and Hove is there. And he was like, and at the time they're not talking. And Hove is letting him know, like, I apologize. You know, like, man, I've always loved her. And Rob was like, but y'all was foul. Like, you was foul for that. Like, you that's something you shouldn't have done. They wound up talking it out or whatever. And they wound up forgiving each other. And Hove was a girl, baby. I love me some Hove, baby. Hove was that girl. Hove was the stand-up man, baby. Hove gave him the keys, like, this yours. He was like, what? He was like, yeah, you my brother. Like, I got you. So the building he bought for him. Okay? I thought that was so beautiful. As time went on, Cash and Nora, they were pregnant. I think she was like 5 months pregnant. Shanta winds up calling her not too long after, you know, Christian passes away, and she wants to meet with her. And she was like, what you want to meet with me? Like, girl, like we are not about to do that. But her mom convinced her to meet with her, and because she's in jail, okay? And she meets with her, and y'all, I thought it was so beautiful. That little girl that Christian and Shanta had, she was going to go into foster care, and she wanted her to take her baby. And being mature like she was, Nora took that baby in. And it did say she wanted to feel like she had a piece of Christian. And Cash loved her just the same, because he felt like, look, she giving me a baby with her. I'm a lover too. I thought that was so, so, so beautiful. So, check this out. Christian had a will 3 years prior to getting with Nora. The lawyer calls Nora and Hove down there. Christian left a lot of things to Nora. Why he leave a letter to Hove saying, you my brother? Their father, they shared fathers. The father knew that Hove was his child, but he had wanted no parts of him, even when Christian wanted parts of him. Okay? When the book started and Hove told Nicole, I didn't mean to push her, I'm assuming he accidentally killed his mother. The book in the beginning showed Hove going into the house and everything was spotless, and he's looking like, what happened? And it was a black car outside. In the letter, Christian said, I was the one in the black car. Hove was so emotional. He was crying like, I didn't have nobody. And he also told him they have a sister. And Hov was so emotional. He was crying. Oh my God. He was like, I had nobody and I had my brother. And why? Why did Nora know? Because Christian told her. And she was like, yeah, telling Hov, I knew. Girl, Hov was livid with her. He was livid. He didn't talk to that girl for a while. And I think this is the epilogue. But he eventually came around. And y'all, it was just so beautiful because they were at the end, they were at Rock's store where he was doing tattoos. And Sharkeisha was there, Hov was there, Nora was there, and Nicole was dancing. And she grabbed Sharkeisha's hand, and Sharkeisha's like, you know, look apprehensive because, like, dude, girl, you used to be messing with my man. And Sharkeisha was, and Nicole was like, we can get past that, like, whatever. And they came together. Y'all, I love this book. I'm a Friends to Love a Girl anyway. I love this book. I gave this book a 5-star. And I bought this book. I love this book so much. I bought this book. Evelyn Latrice, she did that. I just read the 19 Hole at the beginning of the year, and I've read a couple other books from her. Evelyn Latrice, baby. She all that. She all that. All right, guys. So if you like this review, go ahead and like my video. And I will be having another review about a book that I'm probably about to read this weekend. So you'll see me in the next one. Bye.